absolutely ridiculous, but it is so cold outside. Welcome to winter on the foraged farmstead. So winter here looks like buckets of hay, breaking frozen water, hauling buckets of water, sometimes milk jugs of water from the house, depending on how cold it is. Winter on the foraged farmstead looks like chickens parked in the lean-to for 2 to 2.5 months. It looks like cats taking over the barn. So much deep bedding to clean out. Not to mention the amount of straw that the chickens have scratched out of these straw bales. Winter here looks like feeding hay. And goats going crazy because they would like to be outside all the time rather than stuck inside. They do have access to outside, but they much prefer to be inside where it's warm. Now, not only do I have to haul water, but I cannot use my regular waterer for my goats. Oh, hi, cat. I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh, goodness gracious, buddy. I don't know what I'm going to do come spring and summer when he can no longer jump on me and dig his claws into me. Oh, goodness. But before I was interrupted, these are old mineral or protein tubs. So we give our goats extra protein during the winter. They normally will get protein from the grass and plants that they eat when they get to free range. But without being able to free range, they get extra protein. Hi, ma'am. Hi, Miss Leia. You're a little messy. So if you were to ask me if I prefer doing this in the summer or the winter, I much prefer doing this in the summer. I don't like having to break water, to break ice. I don't like freezing my hands. And I feel bad when my animals have to be confined to the barn for their own safety because of the weather. So I much prefer doing this in the heat of the summer. Coming out 3 times a day and refilling water to make sure that they stay hydrated during the summer is so much easier than doing it in the winter with the snow that you have to trudge through. I really hope that learning how to take care of livestock in the winter does not deter anybody from ever wanting to get livestock or wanting to try it. Because in my opinion, it's worth it. Even if you just get a few backyard chickens. Oh goodness, where are you going, buddy? Even if you just get a few backyard chickens, it is worth it. The joy that they bring, they're just, chickens specifically, are just really fun and funny creatures. They are they each have their own personality, and it's really fun to get to know each of your chickens. My recommendation, my number one recommendation for getting chickens in the winter, for caring for them in the winter, rather than investing in a heated waterer, just go get some rubber bowls. Rubber bowls are going to work so much better. You are going to have to fill them more often, but you don't have to worry about, oh, what if the power goes out? How am I going to keep this going? And you don't have to worry about the cord getting in the water or anything like that. The rubber water bowls are great because you can just flip it upside down, tap it, and the water comes right out. Now he's a parrot. Now for keeping your chickens, we'll talk chickens. For keeping your chickens warm during the winter, you want to give them some deep bedding. The way that we do this is anytime I clean out my goat area, my goat stalls, I will toss it into the chickens and they get to scratch around in it and it composts even more. And then I take it from the chickens and put it into the compost pile. Now the same is true for the goats. The goats have deep bedding or semi-deep bedding throughout most of the area where they're at. This hall just has a very thin layer of bedding. Mostly it's discarded hay that they just didn't eat. And then they have access to this room, which is also about 6 inches of bedding. Everywhere in the barn where the goats have access to has a minimum of 6 inches of bedding. Oftentimes it has much more bedding. I mean, you see that cinder block. That cinder block is sitting on the concrete underneath the bedding. So they can snuggle down in this and it helps them to stay warm. They snuggle into each other, cuddle up. Now, I do have a heat lamp. I have this in here for kidding. That is the only time that I turn this on. I will come out and wipe my lamp down. Excuse you, ma'am, sir. I had a goat nibbling on my boot. Don't you eat my gloves, sir. Heat lamp. So I will come out and wipe this down in a few weeks before we start kidding. And then I will take some of my straw bales and make a little corner here where I'll put a bale here and I'll put a bale here, which will block the wind from the door because the door is drafty. Excuse you. I'm sorry, I'm ignoring you, sir. Anyways, that will give them a little area where they can stay warm at if the temperatures drop below freezing. We should be kidding here in the next 3 weeks. Now, for keeping the cats warm, the cats do a good job of just keeping each other warm. They snuggle down in the straw. They've also got this spot right here where They can get into a variety of boxes, which helps to keep them warm. Keeping our main flock warm is kind of different because they're in the chickshaw. So we don't do a deep bedding for them, but they're sitting here. I got one in the nest box. They sit here and they're protected from the wind on almost every side. This is facing south, and it's very rare that we get cold winds from the south. So they are pretty well protected. They also have the discard hay that they get to scratch through, eat the seeds on. This hay is discard because it blew off of the bale, or it had some questionable spots on it where it was possibly moldy. Some of it's from last year when we had a windstorm blow through and I had a bale open and the wind just ripped it apart. But the chickens will scratch through this. This is all going to go onto the garden for this year. So thanks for coming and learning a little bit about how to care for animals in the winter. I hope that you learned something and that it makes you a little less scared to care for your new chickens or new goats through the winter time.